Knicks Nation. Today is Monday, August 12th, 2024. Hope you're all safe and healthy today. Hope you had a good weekend with you and your family and that the needs of you and your family in terms of food, shelter, clothing, as well as health is being met today. Blessings upon those that work in the healthcare field, along with the first responders out here every day saving lives. Those also that pick up garbage, keep our places clean, and those that make deliveries for our convenience. Double blessings on the men and women that are out here trying to help rescue, deliver, and recover teenagers and children that are the victims of child molestation and pedophilia. People that are also victims of prostitution and child prostitution, pornography and child pornography, human trafficking, and sex slavery. Double curses on the perpetrators, the profiteers, and the perverts that create these industries, and double blessings on the homeless. Nearly 600,000 men, women, children, veterans, senior citizens, families, homeless in the United States of America, and millions around the world in similar or worse conditions. Blessings upon them, for theirs is the kingdom. Today, I want to continue discussing about the bench because the New York Knicks bench is going to be key. In fact, any NBA champion, has to get contributions from the bench. When the Miami Heat, even with the big three, they got big contribution from guys like Shane Battier off their bench when they were winning championships. You cannot win a championship unless you have contributions from the bench. Problem with that, again, that big three template is that nowadays, like for example, because of the salary structure, the Phoenix Suns are a poster child of why it doesn't work. First of all, they have most of their cap, the majority of their seasonal cap is tied up in three players. It's tied up in Bradley Beal, of course, Kevin Durant, and Devin Booker. Last year, two of those guys started at least 68 games. You had Bradley Beal out for most of the season. He had 53 games that he played. Okay, not most of the season, but he had 53 games that he played, which means there were almost 30 games or 29 games he did not play. That killed Phoenix because their three big three is vital for them to win. So you had there, instead of getting Bradley Beal for at least 60 games, they had to put in Eric Gordon at age 35. They had to put in Josh Okogie. They had to put in Bates Diop, the guy you're pining about now. These guys are not starters. They're not made to be starters. They're weak at this stage in their career. Eric Gordon used to be, but he's 35. And some of y'all pining for daggone Dwight Howard need to calm down. You can't get washed up players and expect them to help you win a chip. Okay, it's not going to work. Especially 35-year-old dudes like Eric Gordon has had multiple surgeries, missed seasons, so on and so forth. So the weakness of their ancillary players, caused them to miss out. Now you had to, and that's the risk. With the big three, somebody going to miss games. Put it this way. Kevin Durant had a tremendous season. At age 35, he played 75 games. You can't expect that all the time, but he did. He played 75 games. And then you had Devin Booker, who played 68. That's more than respectable from a big three type guy. 68 games plus the playoffs. But again, you're missing because you don't have you don't have Bradley Beal, and therefore you can't get the continuity, especially these guys had just come together. You can't get the continuity, you can't get the flow with that playing like that. So you're dependent on guys like Grayson Allen. You're dependent on guys like I said, Josh Okogie, Eric Gordon, Bates Diop, Royce O'Neal, Eubanks. You're dependent on these guys to come through for you because your big three ain't there. Okay, you got two of the big three. That ain't enough. With the case of the Celtics, look at them. The case of the Celtics, you had four guys out of their five starters start more than 60 games. The least was Drew Holiday with 69. You had Tatum 74, White 73, Brown 70, 69 from Drew Holiday. Then you got 57, which is good, out of Kristaps Porzingis. But then Al Horford comes in. And now you got 57 out of Porzingis. Al Horford played tremendous. Between Al Horford and Luke Cornett, you got backup. And then you had Peyton Pritchard played 82 games, only had to start 5. That shows you a strong bench. He played 82 games, only had to start 5. Then you had, Sam Hauser, 79 games he played. Now your bench is consistent. Your bench, Sam Hauser, Luke Cornett, Peyton Pritchard. That's your bench. And then when Kristaps Porzingis is hurt, Al Horford was benched, but he starts. and you don't miss a beat. Now, the total number of players that's playing all of those games, you really had nine guys that was appearing in more than 60 games, 8 or 9 guys. Then you had O'Shea Brissett come up. So really, you had 10 guys, but Brissett only started playing because KP was hurt. So KP is hurt. You bring Al Horford to the starters. You bring Brissett into your rotation, and they can continue to roll. You had already Peyton Pritchard. You had already Sam Hauser. That's how you win a championship. So with the New York Knicks, last year, we showed what? We had only 5 guys play at least 60 games. Miles McBride played 68, and that was because he was not in the rotation early in the season. Then they made a trade and signed him, as you recall, to an extension the same weekend, indicating now it's time for him to play. So then he played 68 games. He started 14. You had 20 minutes a game for him. You put Precious Achiuwa for 49 games. Juju was one of the problems, of course. He only played 46 games. Then, of course, you had Mitchell Robinson only played 31 games. So now, and then of course, OG came in. OG only played 23 games. It is a miracle of determination, effort, and grit that caused them to be second in the East and to grind out 50 wins. That was really, and on Tibbs, a tremendous coaching job. Josh Hart started 42 games. Your bench was basically starting, as I mentioned, people, and this is the thing. A lot of ways people in the media and some people in Knick Nation look at things, it's like, reminds me of my doctor I had when I was in Virginia. I had a doctor when I got to be 40 years old. He's my long-time personal physician. So when I got to be 40 years old, of course, he's telling me you need to go get the prostate exam. You know, and you get 40, they say, well, that's when you want to check your prostate. And I was reluctant. And I was pretty honest with him. I said, I don't want nobody digging in my behind. I'm sorry, I'm not doing it. So he kept, every time I come to see him for my annual, he'd say, come on now, you got to do this project. And I said, come on now, I ain't doing it. And so we would go back and forth every year. Finally, one year, and this is the last time he brought it up, he asked me to, I don't know, maybe I was over 50 by then. He said, okay, it's time for you to get your prostate exam. And I would say, again, Doc, you know how I feel about that. No, I ain't doing it. So then he said, we need to do it. And I said, why is it so important? Just because somebody's over 40, that they get the prostate exam. And he said, because we can find something and then cut it out. That was the end. Because his first response was to find something and not try to treat it. Not try to treat it with natural remedies or even medications. No, his response was to find something and cut it out. And that's the way some Knicks Nation feels. Oh, our bench is weak. We need trades. Never mind, our bench didn't get the chance to gel because of injuries to Mitchell Robinson and Julius Randle. Never mind, didn't get a chance to gel because we just got Precious and OG at trade season and OG got hurt. No. We need to find something and cut it out. I need y'all to cut it out. This season, we got everybody coming back healthy. And so we should have Josh Hart, Deuce McBride, and now Dante DiVincenzo, who has played off the bench on a championship team in Milwaukee. And we saw what he could do as a starter, but Mikal Bridges is now the starter. So you got Deuce McBride, Josh Hart, Dante DiVincenzo, and Precious Achiuwa, who have all played together, who are now all healthy, who are now going to be in their natural places as bench pieces, who have already shown statistically, you could look it up, how effective they are when they play together. Okay? Everybody's going to point out, well, this and that problem and this and height and blah, 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 blah. When you got stats that back up what you're talking about, come at me. But when we looking at stats that show these boys could ball together, stop and let them ball. The Knicks bench is very key in the projections that I'm making that they should be top 2 in the East and have a chance to go all the way. It's the bench. We already know what we're going to get from Jalen Brunson. That's a given. We already know what we're going to get from Julius Randle. That's a given. We already know what we're going to get from all the starters. The only question, as I mentioned, is we need 60 games from MitchRob and OG, which I'm feeling, and I know this is an anomaly. I'm feeling Tibbs is going to make sure that happens. I want to see how he does this, but in my view, I know he hasn't really used 10 guys before, and I don't know if he's going to use 10 guys. No, I'm not saying that, but what I am saying is I'm expecting the minutes for those two individuals to be less than 30 a game. I'm expecting 28 minutes a game for OG or less. I'm expecting 25 to 28 or less for Mitchell Robinson. And I'm expecting Jericho Sims to get not necessarily consistent rotation minutes, but consistent 8 minutes a game. And I'm expecting him to appear in a lot of games. And of course, Precious will be manning the second unit. And as I mentioned, Precious and Sims statistically are dynamic together on the floor. They've shown that. So I'm expecting the Knicks bench to be in its full contingency. And when you're looking at the bench, your Preciouses, your Josh Harts, your Devos, and your Deuces, they are, if nothing else, available. And so you're going to get them, and they were showing themselves that even this past season, available. So you're going to have that. Again, if you can keep those starters, especially your Mikal Bridges, OG, and Anunoby combination going with, I'm expecting Juju to be his normal self this year, which means at least 70 games, and 2010 and all NBA level. And yes, a brute. I'm expecting that. And then Mitchell Robinson to be his normal best offensive rebounder in the NBA, one of the top rim protectors in the NBA. And if we can get them to, especially MitchRob and OG for at least 60 games, you don't put pressure on the bench to have to be starters. Okay, now with Josh Hart as a starter, we know Tibbs loves him, and we know that's going to be the first guy he calls on. Whether we agree with it or not is irrelevant. That's his boy. That's his son. Josh Hart going to be stepping in if he needs to. I know somebody's going to say, well, I think what you think don't matter. What we know about Tibbs is Josh Hart is his son, just like IQ. So Josh Hart's going to play, and that's cool. That's cool. It ain't like we missing nothing. Josh Hart step in and do his thing. And so we can keep rolling. But if you don't have to do that, don't do it. You know what I'm saying? So it's going to be a situation where it's going to happen. Mitchell Robinson's going to miss it. Like if we're talking 60 games, that means he's missing 22 games. Okay, that's going to happen. If we saying 60 games, I know OG going to want 65 to get that full 212 million. So if we get him to 65, that's 17. You're going to see Josh Hart 17 games at least. Okay? You're going to see Precious play more. You're going to see Jericho play more. Fine. But if that's it, we can make it. If you start to depending on them to cover you for 50 games, or 40 games, that's when you're going to be pressing your bench to be more than they're supposed to be. You use your bench as they should be used. Them 4 guys in a 9-man rotation and averaging something around 20 minutes each. It's not going to be exact, but I'm just using numbers. Some people still don't get those numbers, and they keep coming at me, well, I don't know how you're going to do it. Well, you just don't know. But if there's 240 minutes in the starting lineup, 240 minutes, right? And everybody averages starting 30 minutes on average, not saying it's exact, but on average, that gives you 150 minutes. That means at the 240 minutes, there's 90 minutes left. At the 90 minutes left, you got 4 dudes. That's at least 20 minutes each. See, it's just average. But that's how it's going to work. It's going to be somewhere in there. It's not going to be exact, but that's a baseline of what you're talking about, okay? So the Knicks can handle it. But if we can keep the bench pieces as bench pieces, like in other words, you playing Josh Hart and you ain't got to start him more than 20 games. You playing Dukes, you ain't got to start him more than 20 games. That means Brunson is healthy. You got Devo, you ain't got to start him more than 20 games. Any of those cats, we're going to be in good shape because the bench is strong. See, Phoenix, they're going to have the same problem they had last year. They're going to hope that their big 3 stays healthy. And I'm going to tell you right now, they ain't. Okay, and then you're gonna have to depend on. That's why they drafted some rookies that could play. Also, Iguodala, rookies they're gonna be dependent on to play defense. Okay, when you're in a situation when you got to depend on rookies, some of y'all don't understand that. Some of y'all that was calling for Kolek don't know what the hell you're talking about. When you're depending on a rookie to try to win a chip, you're done already. You're already in trouble. You might get a guy like a Lively that can help you get to the finals, but that's the exception. That ain't the rule. The rule is you done. That's the rule. Okay? The exception is a rookie will step up and you'd be surprised, like Lively did. That ain't gonna happen all the time. Most of the time, rookies are learning. It's just the nature of the beast. So if you expect them to play like vets, you're gonna have a problem. And Phoenix already got a problem. See, Boston's gonna be Boston. They're gonna get what they got last year. They're gonna get it. And if they could get 50, if they can get 60 games out of KP, which is highly unlikely, but if they can, they're gonna be formidable. But see, the Knicks are the one team in the East that at full strength can match up with Boston at full strength. So I ain't worried about Boston at all. Let's get it on. Y'all enjoy your Monday. Shalom.